Let's cut across live now to San Jose, where the Ministry of External Affairs is briefing the media about the Prime Minister's engagement so far in Silicon Valley.
Prominent PIOs as well. Immediately after that, we left for Tesla Motors. Now, Tesla, as you know, is a very iconic company led by a very iconic individual by the name of Elon Musk, who's an entrepreneur, who's an inventor, who's a philanthropist. And he was there personally present to escort Prime Minister to show him around the Tesla facility. We saw how the Tesla electric cars are made. And in fact, he says, we're not in the business of making the best electric car or the best battery-powered car. We are in the business of making the best car, period. And he showed us, in fact, how the entirely robotic facility is using state-of-the-art equipment to manufacture these Tesla cars. And they have a plan now to, the current model is a very expensive one. But we also have plans to introduce slightly lower cost model, in relative terms only, which might be a game changer in terms of allowing people to use a battery-operated car, which could be affordable for them as well. But for us, of course, the main takeaway from that meeting was the Powerwall, which is a long-term storage battery, which can have multiple applications. Prime Minister was very keen to see how we could utilize the battery, this Powerwall concept, to leapfrog development in India. In fact, the example given was just as cell phones enabled you to go from, from nothing to having mobile telephony. Simply, in a similar way, the Powerwall concept, the solar-operated battery, can allow you to, bring energy to hitherto unserviced parts of India, where you have nothing right now, but using the solar power and this long-term battery, people can get access to energy immediately. So there was a very good discussion on that. After that, the Prime Minister came back to the hotel, and he had a call on by Mr. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple. Now, Apple, as you know, is again one of the most iconic companies in the world. In fact, it was recently valued as the most valuable company in the world. And that's because of the kind of products that they have created. As Mr. Tim Cook said, we are just not a technology business. It's how technology interacts with humanity that makes us so special. And he, in fact, said that India has a very special place in the heart of every Apple employee for the simple reason that Mr. Steve Jobs, when he was a young man, he went to India for inspiration. And it was what he saw in India that infused in him the desire to create Apple. So he says India will always be very special for us. And in fact, he expressed his great desire to be a partner in Prime Minister's Digital India initiative, which he thought was a transformative initiative, which could really be a game changer in India. The Prime Minister also said that we would like Apple to start manufacturing in India. He mentioned the huge opportunity that India offered, the fact that Foxconn, which is Apple's largest partner, has already decided to set up a manufacturing base in India. And Mr. Tim Cook responded positively. I think India does fit into his long-term plans. He particularly was interested in the whole app development economy, because he says that can be a very, very important factor for entrepreneurship, where individual app developers, can just become part of the app universe. And it fits in, the Prime Minister has been mentioning that there is the public sector, there's the private sector, and then there's the personal sector. The personal sector, really, he's talking about, people who can be self-made entrepreneurs. And Mr. Tim Cook said that using this app development tools, people can really become part of this huge industry. And he gave the example of China, where, in fact, he said, we created 1.5 million jobs in China just for app development. So that offered a huge example, I think, for India as well. And then there was some discussion on Apple Pay, how this mobile payment platform could also be part of our Jan Dhan Yojana, for instance, and other such initiatives. After that, basically, there was a call on Prime Minister by Mr. Satya Nadella of Microsoft, Sundar Pichai of Google. There was Qualcomm, Paul Jacobs. There was John Chambers of Cisco. And there was a discussion really on how all these very iconic companies could contribute to the Digital India program, to the Skills India program. Thereafter, they all came for the Digital India dinner, where I'm sure all of you were present, so I need not dwell on that. Basically, the Prime Minister used this platform to expound on his vision for Digital India, how Digital India can be a platform for improved governance, for improved connectivity, for faster service delivery, and can have a transformative impact on the lives of all Indians. So you all have heard the Prime Minister, you all have heard how he plans to bridge the digital divide, and how Silicon Valley can be one of the most valuable and important partners for us in this journey. I'll stop here, but I'll get Ambassador to supplement what I've just said.
Well, I think Vikas has covered it well. The only points that I wanted to emphasize that the main reason and interest in visiting the Tesla was related to their battery technology and energy storage. Because in terms of the renewable energy thrust and program that the government has, battery storage would be critical. And therefore it is storage not only related to solar power when it is generated, but also storage in terms of looking at peak and off-peak power generation even by other sources. So that was important, and there was a sense that as the cost of the battery comes down, there would be a huge potential for that kind of technology in India, and of course that's something to be looked at. And in terms of Apple and their interest in India, I think there was a sense that a lot of design innovation is happening in India, a lot of app development is happening in India, and as Apple expands its presence in India in a medium longer term framework, including with a manufacturing presence, there would be enhanced opportunity for app development related to the Apple platforms, and that would of course be an important part of the digital.
All right. In fact, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson there, an ambassador, speaking about the Prime Minister's visit to Silicon Valley, and just a short while back he spoke at the Digital India event, which was followed by a dinner of over 350 tech leaders from the Silicon Valley. There were huge promises made at that gathering there this evening, with Qualcomm offering money to Indian startups. Also, the Prime Minister's vision of connecting even connecting the grassroots through technology, through broadband, being envisioned over there and being read out by the Prime Minister.